At Respect Victoria, our vision is to create a state where family violence and violence against women doesn't exist. And our purpose is to both lead and support evidence-informed primary prevention and to be a catalyst for transformational social change. We know, however, that we can't do this work alone. We need to work collaboratively with organisations who have been leading prevention work across the country for decades, with government partners and stakeholders, and with organisations across the state who have reach into communities who are doing this work if we want to achieve the collective impact that's necessary to create generational transformational change. There are a range of conceptual frameworks and of approaches that have informed how we've built this strategy and how we'll deliver against it. A commitment to Aboriginal self-determination, a desire to ensure that intersectional feminism informs not only how we do our work, but what we do, a commitment to collective impact to achieve the change we want to see, and an adherence to common prevention frameworks like health promotion, human rights and social justice that have been long used globally and in Australia in efforts to prevent family violence and violence against women. Global evidence tells us that in order for prevention efforts to be impactful and sustained, they need to be designed and delivered as part of a comprehensive system-wide approach. That includes a range of elements, from political and civil society leadership to workforce development to policy and legislative reform. Under this strategic pillar, our priority is to both further develop and enhance the effectiveness of Victoria's prevention system. Our role is to conduct and to synthesise research to make sure it is able to inform policy, practice, strategy, investment decisions about prevention funding and communications work, and all of the techniques that are used to prevent violence against women. And importantly, we'll do this work both independently and collaboratively with partners and make sure we are setting up mechanisms to share this knowledge more broadly across the state. The unique value that Respect Victoria offers as part of this strategic pillar is to bring together survey data, programmatic evaluations, academic research and practice evidence and answer the question of, and so what does this mean for prevention in Victoria? Over the next 5 years, we have a role to play in working independently and collaboratively with other stakeholders to build evidence in understanding other forms of family violence, what drives them and how they can be prevented. We'll have a focus on building an economic case for prevention to understand the cost and the benefits of preventing violence against women and to help articulate the savings that can be made. And importantly, a focus under this strategic priority is about building evidence around a saturation model to try and answer the question of how long does it take to achieve impact when you pour a range of evidence-based programs, tools, resources and messages into one community. How long does it take to see change? Work under our third strategic priority is aiming to ensure that prevention is on everyone's agenda: governments, policymakers, industry and community leaders, and the general public. We will continue to perform our legislative role in providing policy and funding advice to the Victorian Government across a range of departments and ministerial portfolios. And we have a role to work collaboratively with leaders across communities and across a range of different industry groups to support them to take up their role in driving prevention in the areas where they have influence. We know that the Victorian community understands better than ever what family violence and violence against women looks like. But we also know that we have got work to do to build momentum across the entire community for how to work in preventing violence against women and how to sustain that change. We need to keep this on the public agenda, and that will be part of Respect Victoria's role. As well as providing policy advice to the Victorian Government, our legislative role is to ensure and support the development and delivery of high quality prevention work across the state. We'll do this by supporting the development of standards and tools and resources that will help work happen effectively and in an impactful way across a range of different settings. We also have a role to work with new sectors, new settings, new partners and industries to drive the uptake of prevention efforts across more places than ever before to make sure that prevention work reaches every Victorian. Our legislative remit and our statewide reach put us in a unique position to drive behavioural, community and social norms change across Victoria. We'll continue to deliver our social marketing campaigns with a focus on the gender drivers of violence against women, making sure that our campaigns are reflecting the diversity of the Victorian community. We also want to focus on extending the reach and impact of our campaign messages by working collaboratively with partners and stakeholders to make sure that our statewide campaigns are connected to on-the-ground activity to really truly drive and sustain change. It is critically important that as part of a statewide approach from prevention to response, that everyone, regardless of their gender, has the support they need to stay safe and are able to be involved in leading and implementing efforts to prevent all forms of family violence. It's a very big mandate, and so for the next 5 years, Respect Victoria will have a primary but not sole focus on the gender drivers of violence against women. This 5-year strategy concentrates Respect Victoria's limited resources where the biggest evidence base is, that is, in what works to prevent men's violence against women. And when we say women, we mean women who reflect the diversity of Victoria's community: Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women, women from a range of different socioeconomic, cultural, migrant, ethnic and religious backgrounds, those in the LGBTI community, women of all ages, women with a disability. We want to make sure our work is speaking to and addressing the forms of violence that impact all of those women. We know that work to address the gender drivers of men's violence against women will have a positive impact on reducing other forms of violence, in particular violence against the LGBTI community, because of the shared drivers across these different forms of violence. We also know it's really critical, however, to build evidence in what works to prevent other forms of family violence, if, over the course of a generation, we are really going to truly be able to target efforts to prevent all forms of family violence and violence against women. Working in prevention is a privilege because of the hope that is attached to this work. Every day we come to this movement aiming to achieve generational and transformational social change. Respect Victoria's strategic plan is our contribution to that, and we look forward to working alongside you to achieve what is a significant challenge and an amazing opportunity.